audio, video. Live streaming with Rick Miracle begins at noon on Sunday. It's noontime. How's the audio? How's the video? Well, it's Sunday, July 29th. 2 more days, and the month of July is over. August is already this close. The year is flying by. And I made a commitment to make a live streaming event every day at noon. I think I missed 2 days, maybe 3 days. And Aaron says the audio and video is okay. Hugo says good. So welcome to today's live streaming event. I don't like to say show. It's an event. So I was pondering, what should I talk about today? And I get inspired. I did have a email I received in my inbox at 11:23, so a little over half an hour ago. So I thought I would share this first. Serious disclosure. You can see it came in my email right there. So the Serious Disclosure Project has been sending me emails for years, inviting me to different events, as I've mentioned before, where they get together and a group of people at a park or a beach all over the world and do incantations and mantras, stuff like that. And incantations, abracadabra, hocus pocus. I'm just saying those so that the meaning is clear. They have different kinds of words and mantras they do. Apparently to bring forth some beings, and apparently the group of people that get together do have sightings of these beings. And also, of course, channeling is quite popular right now. Esther Hicks channeling Abraham. Books I have on Jane Roberts channeling Seth. Lee Carroll channeling Cryon. He's got 100 or so books out there in dozens of languages, and many others. So who are these beings? Why does there seem to be this common thread of trying to bring about in the world a new religion? Saying Christianity is outdated, no longer needed. So what is this new religion? So anyways, the Serious Disclosure Project, it says here, participate in the upcoming global CE-5 event, Saturday, August 4th. So I think that's next weekend. 2018. Go out at night, 9 and midnight. So between 9 and midnight, in your time zone with a group of friends or an existing CE contact group to form a continuous light around the world, reaching out for universal peace. I thought that was interesting to get that in my inbox today. So you can see I really didn't prepare to be talking about this. I just checked my email and there it was. Join with groups around the globe in making contact. Thousands around the globe have already formed contact groups. Now is the time to magnify global coherence by all of us coming together in higher consciousness in a way that can move the world and humanity onto a path of universal peace. Ideas for participation in Global CE-5. Get together with your existing group or form a group. Plan to go outside between 9 p.m. and midnight in your time zone on the 4th. We're not picking a specific time as folks may need flexibility to get to a field work site and schedule when to meet. Use the CE-5 protocols to call on the ETs in universal peace. Imagine each individual or group as a shining light from Earth into the cosmos, all on the same day around the globe. The Earth will be glowing. So what do you think? All right, Hugo says, everything is good. Aaron says, everyone is talking about these beings. Well, I guess when you see what I have to talk about on this live streaming event, maybe we'll get a little closer to what we're talking about. Just saying. Aaron says, demons, Jesus, please come back. So anyways, a big thank you to all the CE-5 contact groups around the world for continuing the work of peaceful contact between Earth and other interstellar civilizations. And it says here you can download the iPhone or Android app. Includes a full training program on what to look for, how to make contact, and more. Go here for the additional details. And I did show that video where me and my significant other girlfriend came home at about 9 o'clock, 9:20. I was looking out through the front door and I saw this thing flying, looked like a flashlight in the sky coming at my area. So that when I walked outside, and so did she, and she had her iPhone, and I found my iPhone, and we both videoed it, and I photographed it a couple times. But there were two orbs flying pretty quick, and as they were passing, that's how fast they were moving, I barely found my phone in time. And then another one came from the northeast and was flying southwest. So I got more of that on video, and then another one showed up, so there was 4 in total. And I did make a MUFON report, and strangely enough, David Glidewell, the representative of MUFON, the UFO reporting site, who represents the North Carolina, called me. We had a long conversation on the phone, but then my girlfriend pointed out, isn't that odd? His name was David Glidewell. Strange things. All right, looking at my comments here. Hugo says the alien invasion threat could be used for a one-world government, like the Reagan repeated that Cooper said. And yes, there is a military base not too far from me. The National Guard base. But, you know, in the mountains of North Carolina, I understand there are a lot of strange anomalies like Brown Mountain. And I did ask David Glidewell, again, interesting name for a UFO reporting agent, if anything was spotted recently at Brown Mountain, which is east of the city where I live in the mountains. He said there wasn't anything that he was aware of. So I just thought I would talk about some different things today. Kind of looking at my comments. Different kinds of books I have and some pictures. Just a kind of a lazy Sunday, not to get too serious. Here's a book I have. Astrotheology and Shamanism. Christianity's Pagan Roots. So me and my girlfriend have interesting conversations. We don't agree on everything. So she was reading this book last year. And so for this show I said, where's your book? I want to talk about that for a minute. So you can see some of the symbols in this book. Page 92. Well, not getting my camera right here, sorry. So you got a serpent eating its tail. And then you have this other one with the phoenix rising, the eye, and the pyramid. So all this seriously interesting symbols and imagery everywhere throughout history. But the eye has a flames like the sun around it. The phoenix is rising. Here's another interesting one. The duality of Jesus. So, of course, there would be Gabriel, apparently an angel. And then you have here the cross with the serpent on it. Apparently to represent the brazen serpent in the Bible. And then on the bottom here you have another interesting picture. Jesus on the cross. So all kinds of books out there on these different religions. So what are we to think? Should we think about it? And if I have other books, Ancient Egypt, and you got all kinds of interesting pictures in these books. Notice the sun's rays, that's one of the common denominators. The globe with the horns or the wings on the headdress. So what does Egypt have to do with all this? Remember, that's where Moses led the Hebrews, now called Jews, out of captivity in Egypt. And he was raised as an Egyptian, and apparently was taught the mystery religion. So it's really interesting when you start looking at this stuff. You can see the owl or the falcon with the globe on its head, the scarabs. Stuff like this you've seen in the Indiana Jones movies. There appears to be Isis, and then there's entities with a bird head. And I got this book in the mail the other day, and I've already started reading it, has some fascinating information. There's much more to the dollar bill and the symbols than I ever imagined. These are some ancient coins. So they were using coins here and money for these symbols of these gods and these beings for years. So this ought to be a fascinating book to continue reading. I made videos on this book, The Secret Science Behind Miracles by Max Freedom Long, who was studying the shamans of Hawaii called the kahunas. And I thought I'd just read one paragraph here, just to give you a sample. You can go watch my video, series 138. The Secret Science Behind Miracles. I've been reading this material for years. I'm not trying to learn to witchcraft or sorcery. I just want to find out what's going on. See if I can get some common denominators here. The incredible force used in magic, where it comes from, and some of its uses. So when you read all these books, I'm up to series 208 in my series Freemasonry and Satanism book reviews, encompassing almost 500 videos, 700 hours, 250 books. Because some of the series, some of the authors published more than one book. So I tried to consolidate them. Before beginning the explanation of how fire walking and other magic is performed through the use of 3 invisible elements, which are still almost unknown in the modern psychology, a few things need to be told about the religious beliefs of the kahunas, the shamans in Hawaii. The secret or body of information handed down from one magician to another was what may be called applied psychology for the most part. The element of religion was very small, especially if we accept the technical definitions of religion in the best modern sense. Dr. Paul Tillich, professor of philosophical theology at Union Theological Seminary, writes, "Magic is a special kind of interrelation between the finite powers. Religion is the human relation to the infinite power and value. Magic is the exercise of eminent power. Religion is the subjection to the transcendent power. All religions are mixed with magic. Prayer is magic. Everything we do to gain benefits for ourselves in this life or the next is part of magic." Prayer is magic. So I'm just looking at some books I've made videos on and some that I haven't. Another one I made videos on is Carlos Castaneda, A Separate Reality. So here's this guy from California going down there to Mexico, spending time with the shamans, and taking peyote and other drugs to go into a altered state of consciousness. And he tells all in this book about the beings and the adventures he had, and some of them quite scary and dangerous. You could lose your life going into this other world. So this was series 93. I've talked about this book a lot. Ayahuasca Visions. So you can see from the cover, when you take these drugs, this particular shaman in Peru had a good talent for painting and drawing. So some professor brought him some supplies, a professor from the United States, and said, "Hey, when you go into your next trance," he was a shaman taking ayahuasca, try to remember what you see, and I want you to draw me some pictures. Now, if that isn't just one magical scene, I don't know what is. That's the kind of drug you might want to stay away from. So these books I show you, I've gone on Abe Used Books and probably picked this up for $3, including shipping. And just the pictures alone, a big thick book like this, is a seriously great deal to add to your library. Another one I made videos on, Psychic Self-Defense by Dion Fortune. Series number 14, early in my video making career after reading books for almost 10 years. I was planning on writing some books, and as I researched the different topics to write about, I continued to find that other people already wrote books on those topics. After reading books for 10 years and planning on writing books, and it occurred to me that a more important job would be to resurrect those books. People don't know these books exist. They can't go buy the book on a used book site for $2 or $3. Read it and be astounded by the information they find. Psychic self-defense. What do you think that means? Psychic self-defense. Telepathic communication? Telepathic or a mental attack by spiritual beings? Who is it that Stephen Greer in the Serious Disclosure Project are managing to have manifested that they can see, and all these channelers channeling, and even the government, according to several authors I've made books on, Psychic Warrior, David Morehouse, Inside the CIA's Stargate program, a true story of a soldier's espionage and awakening. So I make these videos so maybe the rest of us can wake up to the fact that it appears, as it says in the Bible and other ancient documents and recorded history, it appears that we are spiritual beings in these biological bodies, and not all entities get to have a physical body. So why I was chosen to have this life, or you, or anybody else, but a lot of entities do not get physical bodies. Some of them may be ancient entities. Some entities on Earth, apparently through unforeseen circumstances or strange causes of death or actions on their part, leave them earthbound until their spirit dissolves and dies completely. Apparently people who commit suicide or who are murderers or got murdered, people who are kind of negative, who don't make it to continue into the light. And if you read books on the out-of-body experiences and after-death experiences, a lot of people saw the light, went into the tunnel, and had entities they recognized or didn't recognize that would inform them it wasn't their time and they were to go back. Hugo says Stephen Greer, I believe, is a psychop. That's why I'm going over these books and these pictures today. So maybe we can all make some kind of educated decision. What is reality? What should we believe? And what do the powers that be that control our globe and our cities and the buildings and the money and the war machine and so much more, what do they believe? Psychop, Truth with Disinformation. Thank you, Hugo. So you get this book from Tex Mars, Mysterious Monuments, Encyclopedia of Secret Illumination Designs and Masonic Architecture and Occult Places. Why would they have statues like this all around the globe? Tex Mars. Oh, here's a picture I haven't seen in a while. I used it as an index place map mark in a book. But I talked about these things in Maine when I was driving around. And they're on the side of the road. Ancient, free, and accepted Masons. If you've watched my videos, you've heard me mention the blue signs like stop signs. So you're driving down the highway, and boom, there's this thing. And 10 miles later, there's another one, and another one, and another one. Apparently, Maine is a hugely Masonic state. So somebody is putting these along the roadways, making something like a legal announcement, some kind of claim to territory. And apparently, they're all over the states. And when you drive into cities, they have this big billboard with all the organization in that city. Maybe you've seen it. Lions Club, Rotary Club, Freemasonic clubs. So these invisible groups are everywhere. And they're, making their claim to owning and controlling our world. So apparently, everywhere you go, you can see these symbols. We got gargoyles on top of the buildings in my city. And we have these green men images on top of some of the older buildings in my city. One day I went out and just did a photo shoot of where I live. It was so fascinating. Here's a building, looks like a SWAT sticker. Park cars in the parking lot. And the other building there is the University Library, Mexico City, Mexico, with all those symbols. Spirit of Houston. So you got a big, thick book here of all these mysterious monuments all over the world documented by Tex Mars. A fascinating book. Go on and use the book site and see if you can find it. Just endless amounts of material to read, even the information about Washington, D.C. Street plan looking like an owl. And the images on top of the Capitol building. And when I did go walking around Washington, D.C. a couple years ago, even on the light post where it gives you the directions to the subway entrances, and etc., they had pictures of the street plan looking like the owl. They were making a fun thing of it. So it's not an ambiguity. And I notice in a lot of cities, if you go to major cities, you're driving on the interstate and you drive by them, you're going to see all these buildings with strange architecture. And a lot of them look like Mayan temples or owls on the top. So my point here is these buildings and this architecture. Here's a pyramid here. And this is in Long Beach, California. So somebody knows what they're doing with all this. So I thought I would look at some pictures. I've shown before that I have huge shoe boxes full of pictures. And I have little index tags, little homemade setup here with different kinds of entities in this box. Alien beings, gods, demons, Anunnaki. So I have boxes with entities. I have other boxes with other New World activity. GMOs, mind control, FEMA camps, gay agenda, New World Order, Miley Cyrus, Mandela effect, Eurovision, ice cores, Jade Helm, Philadelphia experiment. So I have 4 of these cataloging the different topics I've been researching over the years. So I thought on this particular Sunday to make a kind of a fun, relaxing live streaming event, I would just look at some of these pictures, and all that stuff I just showed was like a setup for what we're going to look at. A little bit of history here with Stephen Greer and the Cyrus Disclosure, Psychic Warrior, Ayahuasca drug, peyote in Mexico, and the Kahuna Shamans in Hawaii. All these things I've been researching. But the first topic, they're in the alphabetical order in my... So this is cherubim. I made this little homemade shoebox catalog thing. So what are cherubim? So apparently some kind of god with rays coming out of the sun, and these beings with 4 heads. Apparently all manifesting out of the smoke coming out of this container on the floor. The cherubim or glory. So I've been collecting these pictures. Here's God again, I guess, with the cherubim, these little children with wings. And the hound dog and a lion all on a cloud. Cherubim. That doesn't give me a warm, fuzzy feeling. There's a cherubim. Makes you wonder, who's Stephen Greer and all those groups? Who are they contacting? Look at all the eyes on these wings. And Hugo says obelisk and pyramids are everywhere, entering cities normally. You know what's interesting? I went up to the city in northern Georgia where they have the Georgia Guidestones, Georgia, USA. And the Guidestones are actually out in the country. Off a side road, you got to drive down it. But anyways, I went to visit the town that was associated with that area. What a depressing place. And they had 2 obelisks in their city square. But the whole thing was completely depressing and looked like it was poverty-stricken. It was quite weird. So the cherubim has a lion's face, an ox face, and a human face. Ezekiel's cherubim, 4 faces, lion, man, eagle, calf, 4 hands, calves' feet. You got to pay attention with these pictures. You miss things all the time. Here's the Virgin Mary with baby Jesus and cherubim all around. Little children with wings, as you can see. And then the Ark of the Covenant, I've talked a lot about that, with the cherubim on top. And these winged entities on each side. So apparently, the Ark of the Covenant was built at the instruction of the burning bush or glowing light that Moses was talking to on Mount Sinai. And the Ark of the Covenant was the golden box with the cherubim on top to protect the entity inside the box. And the Jews, the Hebrews back then, would take the Ark of the Covenant into battle. All right, Panna, nice first time live stream for me. Watch. So this is no small thing when you talk about President Donald Trump saying that the USA recognizes Jerusalem as the capital of Israel. It's a huge thing. Pana says Hebrews, not Jews. Anyways, I just wanted to look at some pictures today. So this Ark of the Covenant doesn't appear to be a small thing. And remember, King Solomon's temple was built to house the Ark of the Covenant. The Babylonians, 2,600 years ago, 2,600 years plus or minus, destroyed the first temple and exiled the Jews from the Jerusalem area. And remember, King Solomon's temple was built to house this Ark of the Covenant containing some entity. And then hundreds of years later, they rebuilt King Solomon's temple. And then the Romans destroyed it and exiled the Jews, dispersed them all over the world. They couldn't congregate or live in Jerusalem. I wonder why twice. Anyways, where we are today after World War I and World War II, with my research, is why they had World War I and World War II and 9/11. The preparations for the eventual reconstruction of the King Solomon's temple for the third time. And we know what happened the first two times. Things were not too good, or the Babylonians or the Romans wouldn't have singled them out for destruction and disbursement. Yes? No. So you got these cherubim. I look up on Yahoo image site. You got this box, it's a golden box with the two winged cherubim, and apparently some kind of entity. So what do you think? The Jewish people have a religion, or do they not? Are they a race of people, or are they not? What about the rest of us being called Gentiles, or if they want to use a derogatory term, goy or goyim, which means cattle? What's with that? Go look up goy, G-O-Y. Here's some winged entities with the child in the middle. More winged entities, apparently on some Egyptian hieroglyphics. The tree of life. Looks like these entities have human faces, but bird-like and animal-like bodies. What's going on? And of course, a lot of these cults worship Moloch, some kind of bull god with wings, as you can see. And it goes on and on and on. Look at all the eyes, the wings, eyes everywhere. What do you suppose it means? Here's a symbol for the devil with the upside down five-pointed star with the wings. Here over there in Egypt, this lion with a human head and wings. Why did they build these? That one doesn't give me a warm, fuzzy feeling. And like I said, even in your city, you got the old buildings and they have these cherubim etched into the buildings. These winged creatures. Even modern pop art cultures. The winged entity. Look at the hand. Look at the sword. ancient religious paintings. Inside the King Solomon's temple, underneath the lion is the Ark of the Covenant on the bottom. The lion with human heads and wings. So when you look at these pictures long enough, you start to get some associations, some connections of the dots. Do you believe in angels? Spiritual entities? So who do you think the gray aliens are, or the reptilian beings, or the Zetas, or the Pleiadians, or the Andromeans, and all these other entities? Who do you think they are? Is history telling us who they are? Are these pictures telling us who they are? What's with the Ark of the Covenant? Should they rebuild King Solomon's temple when the Babylonians, the leading power in the Middle East, 1600 years ago, and then the Romans 2,000 years ago, the glowing being in the box? You suppose that's your God, my God? And that he made us to be goyim cattle, or Gentiles, as the some Jews call us, or profane, that Freemasons call us, who are not initiated into the mystery religion? So there's the cherubim on the Ark of the Covenant, and there's one of the priests. So this is real. Here's looks like an Illuminati card. Cherubim. Looks like quite the warrior. The shock troops of heaven. Cherubim cannot be damaged by spell or tramp cards. So some kind of card game. Ancient Egyptian hieroglyphics. The winged beings. Body of a lion, wings, and the head of a man. What is this telling us? I guess that's taking genetic manipulation and cloning to an extreme. Look at the size of these beings, the statues or whatever, compared to the two people standing on the bottom. Would you like to run into that guy in the middle of the night, huh? I don't think I'd like to see that in my dreams. So anyways, I think I'll find another topic here to look at. So what is this? Some kind of celestial heaven with the cherubim there, the beings with animal heads like a cow and a lion and a bird and a human? And the bright light, is that God? And then all the people on the left and the right? What is this mystery religion? All right, I have another category here. Just going to use up my 1 hour show time here and look at some pictures. So I was sitting in a pub in Camden, Maine. Nice little town on the coast, halfway up the coast of Maine. I grew up in Maine, Newport. But I wanted to go live there for a while when I got older. So a few years ago, I managed to rent an apartment, and I spent about 6 months. So I got to know some people at the local little pub, shooting pool, walking over to the cove and seeing the boats and the tourists. Anyways, some people found out I was a bit of a researcher and told me something. But before I show you that, I want to show you some pictures. When I looked up on Yahoo image site, devil, you get these pictures. Apparently, this is Satan and Jesus locked in battle. Devil, apparently the women's breast and the phallic unit down below with the serpents around it, by the way, snakes, wings, fire on his head, horns. So it's an androgynous being, the devil. And even in 2014 Eurovision, like the American Idol program, Conchita Wurst won, head like Jesus, body like a woman, singing the song The Phoenix Rising, which has the words, "You can't stop us." Androgynous. And then, of course, we're all aware of the homosexual marriage issues and lesbian and pansexual, transgender, and so much more. It has to do with androgynous beings as depicted by the devil. And the serpent, and here he is, the goat of Mendes. Goat feet, human face, blowing his flutes. Apparently, even in the Vatican, in the basement, they have a symbol for Lucifer. Depiction of Lucifer, that is the light bearer, the morning star. On the opposite wall, there is a drawing of Vesper, the evening star, cosmic symbols for the human life cycle. So they have Lucifer on a big painting in the Vatican basement. Some more satanic pictures. And apparently these days, tattooing with the pagan religion is very popular. So what do you think? That picture generates some warm, fuzzy feeling for you? Has its sexual content, but skull and bones and the horn. The horns, the serpent, the devil sign with his hand that you see everybody doing, the serpent legs, the goat legs. Remember, they put the big image projected onto the Hoover Dam of a giant goat. And Shiva and Kali, the goddesses of destruction, on the Empire State Building. Dave says, what do you know of the Hivites? Babylonian cult who wanted a hive community and also worshipping the poppy plant. A hive-like, opaque, addicted society. Sounds familiar. Certainly does. So what are we to believe? Another depiction of the devil. And even Madonna in one of her Super Bowl halftime events. All these things, Beyonce, Lady Gaga, have done these satanic rituals at Emmys, Grammys, Katy Perry, Super Bowl halftime shows, Olympic openings. They're showing us this stuff all over the world. So again, I ask a dumb question here. Who is Stephen Greer and his CE5 event people contacting with these mantras and other magical sayings? What kind of entities are they bringing into our reality? The satanic star, the pentagram, the goat's head star upside down. This one doesn't give me a warm, fuzzy feeling. You got the humans in chains, a male and a woman, and the God being behind there, the devil. Okay, here's the picture I wanted to share. So my friend in the pub in Maine says, Rick, We had a big bonfire the other night out in the woods. And up in Maine, it's a lot of woods there. It's beautiful. People do that. Probably other places too. But she goes, somebody decided to throw a Bible into the fire. I kid you not. And she showed me what was on her phone, and I asked her to forward it to me, and I made some printouts. So what do you think? Can you see the devil face near my fingers? It gets weirder. There it is again when you turn it sideways. See the horns, the eye, the nose, and then this way you can see it again. So what do you think? A coincidence? Is there something magical about causing some kind of being, evil-looking being, to show its face? And a lot of people have seen different kinds of creatures in fire. Even apparently some big creature's face was shown in the smoke of the Twin Towers when they were exploding and burning. People have taken pictures of that. I just thought that was weird. That she had that on her camera, and no matter which way you turn that picture, here's another stack of pictures. Probably have a 50 or 60 in this box on different kinds of entities. But I just thought it'd be fun to just relax and look at some pictures for this live streaming event. All right, Dave says transgender agenda manifesting the bafflant. Penna says enslavement of the human race, so the Neanderthals, the Akhenazis, race will take over the world. So this picture's on Yahoo image site. I looked up because of my research, genies. Like I dream of genie, or Aladdin's lamp and the genie. Genie creation. Genie, the Conjurer's magazine, Woody Allen. These are just pictures that were there. Wow, that's some spikes coming down from the ceiling. Are these people lying in a bed? These are just some of the pictures when I looked up genie. These cherubim seem to have a head in their hands. And they got a table and a saw. Did they cut somebody's head off? Here's an interesting one. The serpent, the animals with wings, the little children or men with wings. These are just under the topic genie on Yahoo image site. Looks like an Anunnaki according to Zachariah Stitchins. Some kind of being. Here's just a card that says, history shows us that the people who end up changing the world, the great political, social, scientific, technological, artistic, and even sport revolutionaries, are always nuts until they are right. Then they are geniuses. Genies? So you can see the similarity in the pictures between the other types of beings, angels, cherubim. This is the one most people are probably familiar with. The genie coming out of the lamp. Makes you wonder how much truth there is to that. Genie, the Conjurer's magazine. So apparently they had a magazine called Genie. A lot of people were magicians, and they always look like strange-looking characters. They meet in strange places. You see the pyramid on top of that entrance? Look at the owl. The owl seems to be a regular symbol I see. A symbol for the Statue of Liberty. So they make cartoons out of this stuff. So what do you think mind control is all about? Willard the Wizard, the world's greatest magician. So who are these magicians? Where do they learn the material? The monsters. So they give us these TV programs and horror flicks. The Illusionist. Alright, so there weren't really too many weird photos there. But I look up these different things. See what else I can find. Callie, putting her on the Empire State Building recently. You can go look it up. Big projections. The Hindu deity. Got a bunch of shrunken heads around her neck. And holding a head in her hand and a sword in the other. And stepping on another man and serpents. Skulls, 6 arms. So what do you know about the New Age material? Holding a head in her hand and a sword. Look at the bloody sword. So what do you think these pictures are telling us? Why would they put Kali and Shiva, the goddess of destruction, on the Empire State Building? Bizarre to me. What do you suppose it's saying? Seriously, what do you think it means? Alright, I got another minute or two. Let me find a different stack of pictures. I looked up Mendes. Here's a picture of Mendes. It's another name for the devil. Mendes is also an actress. Means the devil. Here's her husband. Look at the tattoo on his arm. And his face and his neck. I kid you not. Beautiful woman. The name Mendes means devil. These are pictures on Yahoo image site for Mendes. There's the devil. Yes, Panu, Switzerland, when they had the tunnel opening ceremony, the demons with horns were dropped from the sky. And groups of people on train beds were wearing clothing that was almost see-through, so it looked like they were naked, and they were having a sexual groping orgy as the train rolled by the journalists and political dignitaries there to witness the tunnel opening in Switzerland. Interestingly enough, of course, Geneva, Switzerland is where they have CERN, which apparently they're opening up portals and entities have been seen. But Geneva has even more an interesting history. Apparently it is the long-time home base for the Illuminati and even the origin of the Frankenstein myth, if not even the vampire stories. Weird, but true. You can go look it up. Things I've researched over the years and discovered. There's much more to Geneva on the Switzerland-French border than a lot of people know. I always wanted to look up the coordinates, latitude, longitude, and see if there was some kind of spooky numbers or alignment. Mendes. Saints and sinners. Mendes. You don't have to be Sherlock Holmes to put this together. Do you? Got the one eye thing going on? She might be a very pleasant, nice lady. And the husband with the crazy serpent and daggers tattoos might be a nice dad. I won't show you this one. She's a little bit more revealing. This one's okay. Mithras, another character. If Mithras has no title, is Cramilla, he can steal a title from Cramilla the vampire. So some kind of game. Mithras, Mendes, look at the occult symbols. Mendes. This is one of those places buried underground where they have their rituals. Sort of like a church for these people into this religion. Alright, so I hope you enjoyed this little picture show and book show. Talking about things like the government training psychic warriors to leave their bodies and spy on people or possess people. Do things that your spiritual entity can do. Which is what? And then, of course, you can watch my videos on these topics. That was Series 10, Psychic Warrior. Freemasonry and Satanism. And this one is the Kahunas in Hawaii, the Shamas. Series 138. Psychic Self-Defense. Series 14. You can go look on used book sites to try to find this book. I think it's well worth it if you pick it up for $5 or $10. Just these giant pictures alone. You can cut them out and frame them. Crazy artwork. But apparently when you're under the influence of the ayahuasca drug, this is what you see. Carlos Castaneda wrote a couple books. A Separate Reality, Behind the Veil, The Invisible Reality, whatever you want to call it. And then the ancient Egyptian books, you can find many of them on used book sites for a couple bucks. Get nice books, too. It's amazing what you can buy. And you can see these entities. And become an amateur symbologist yourself. Try to figure out what they mean. Some people says this looks like Obama. Some people say they cloned some being from one of these mummies. And look at this animal head. Looks like they're making a mummy there. The eyes. Lots of questions. Trying to find some answers. This book on astral theology. They were sacrificing humans, of course. That picture was the 16th century. Shows a shaman eating mushrooms so they could see this other reality. And a spirit behind him speaking through the mushroom. So he's taking the mushroom and the spiritual entity with the bird's feet. And Carlos Castaneda describes that quite well. Go watch my video on that. So thank you for listening to and watching this live streaming event on this Sunday. So what do you think? Who is Stephen Greer and all those people going out to beaches and parks at night doing mantras and incantations? Who and what are they seeing? All right. Hugo says their arrogance is so blatant, it makes me think it's coming soon. I am reading this. This ought to prove to be interesting. I've already read 6 or 7 pages. A lot of stuff I need to find out in this book. There you go. Have a good day. Rick Miracle reporting.